In this episode, we talk garden design. What it is, how it works, and why it doesn't work. Now you can go online, zoom into your county's website, and a lot of them have got an aerial map of your town or village. So this one here is for my property. Here's my house footprint. This is my off-road parking. And then our garden, our courtyard, is this area here. As you see, it's not very big. This is by no means accurate. You need to go out and verify things, but it's a really good starting point. It gives you a great base footprint, and you are not starting out from scratch. Trying to draw a scale drawing is a little bit tricky. Now, if you take this plan and you can screen grab it and enlarge it, and here we have that drawing enlarged. Now with this drawing, you need to go out into your area that you want to develop. You need to verify a few measurements. So I know that here I have a gate and it swings that way. I know that if I come in 58 inches to here and then 72 across to there, I've got a chimney breast. So that's our chimney. That's real and existing. And then I know that if obviously I've got my greenhouse that comes out. So there's my greenhouse. This measurement from here to here is 212 inches. So now you can verify what you've got and make this accurate, which is pretty important. The next step is to add some very important details to your plan. It's vital that you know what is north. Just so happens that our house is north and this plan is north, so I know that straight up is north. What that indicates to me is that this aspect here is facing south, so when the sun rises and it comes across the sky in the summer in particular, it's full-on blazing sun. This is a full sun aspect. Now, a lot of people get confused with full sun. It might be south-facing, but if you have a building here and another building here, the sun will pass through, and it's only going to go through those buildings for maybe 2 hours. It's full sun, but it's not prolonged full sun. There's a tree in my neighbor's yard over here in the morning, but the sun in the summer quickly clears that tree, and I get full sun from 10 o'clock in the morning right the way through until 6 o'clock at night. That is a full sun. There's 8 hours. And that is really important for the type of plants that I want to grow. That's a good assessment. The next thing you have to do is determine what zone your garden is. I'm in a 6B, and all plants have got a classification. Now, it's not cut in stone. There is a degree of flexibility because you might have a microclimate, a little pocket that's a frost pocket that stays cold, probably on a north-facing wall, or you might have a sunny spot like this, where you can probably bend the weather a little bit to your favor. If I have a plant that grows in zone 7 to zone 4, it will grow in my 6B. If I have a plant that's zone 7B to zone 10, it won't grow in my design because it's the wrong zone. But that's why we have a greenhouse, which is right there, because that helps give us the protection that we need. The next thing you need to do is look at any underground services. You don't want to be digging in there and suddenly hit a gas pipe or a main. So you call them up and they'll come and mark, and it might be that you've got something that comes in and then goes into the house. You need to know where that is. My type of planting, I'm not going to be doing any heavy excavation. All of my stuff is in the top 12 inches, and major services are a lot lower. Next thing you have to do is look for cables. These are cables up in the air. You don't want to have a cable here, plant a great big tree or a row of them here that will grow into that. That is not a good idea. So get your aspect, get your growing zone, look for services in the ground, look for cables above ground, And you do want to look for drainage. What is the slope of your project? So drainage is a big issue. If you have a patio on the low side and you've got a large expanse of grass above it, all that water is going to drain down and keep your patio very wet. So you'll have to put in extra pipes to drain that water away. So you do need to address drainage. So here we've got a little site assessment. These are the factors that you'll need to help you with your project. It's not by any means all-inclusive. There might be a few other things that would be useful, but for my situation, I know my aspect, which is south-facing. I know my zone. I've got, I know where my services are. I know where my cables are, and I know my drainage. And I've verified what I've got in terms of size with this figure here in particular. Now you might say, well, how on earth do I decide where that should go? Well, what you do is you would measure from here to here and get the full measurement. Then you would set it in half, and then you would know what this is. Then you would set that in half, and you'd know what that figure is. Now, with this plan that shows the information we have here, we can do a little bit of a trick. Lay another piece of paper on top of it, and we can mark turning corners. We know there's something there. We can see it there. I can tell that this finishes back there. And then there's a corner there. Another one there. There and there. So what we've now got is a bunch of dots. We can join these together. This is our boundary. Like that. And then our house footprint comes across here. Perfect. North. So now we can start to add some of the details that we know our garden's got. We have got right here a fence, and then there's a gate that hinges there and it opens that way. We know that's in place. Now if I went outside and verified my measurements, so we've got 58 inches in, and then we've got our 6 foot wide, so that's the chimney, and then here we have 4 foot. That's our greenhouse with a ridge down the center. So that's very useful. And then we're going to start to build up our design. I know that here, going this way, I've got some long, very boring concrete slabs, but they were in the garden and I repurposed them. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. In front of my greenhouse, I have got a large, beautiful, large bluestone slab. And I've got some gravel, I've got some granite stones that make a pathway there, and then the stones also come across here. Now I originally did them 3 wide and it wasn't big enough, so I went back and did it 4 wide and it works much better now. And then that leads us on to 4 squares, 4 rectangles of a bluestone slab. And then I've got some thin bluestone that goes in here like that. I've got an area of herringbone. No, it's not herringbone. It's a brick that comes in here. I've got some steps that come up to a landing and then some steps that go down. This is my front door that opens that way. And then my beech hedge comes like that, and then it comes like that. There we go. That's what we got going on. Now, oh yes, let's not forget, I was able to put in here a gate that swings like that, and then underneath that we've got some herringbone slabs, herringbone brick that goes in there. Now it's important to note we have a gate, we have another gate. Courtyards can be very congested, a little bit dark, a little bit cramped. You've got to have easy access in and easy access out. Now I don't have a gate here, but I also have access out of the courtyard on this side. So we've got two gates and another access. That's very important. Now, let's also mark irrigation. I have got my mains water supply is in the house, and it's here. So I drilled a hole through the wall and put a spigot going out. And then I've got a hose hanger right next to that spigot. And I measured the hose to come from there, and it will come on the path, and it finishes right there. So that's my hose. So I can now water all of this with that hose. I don't like having lots of hose coiled up on the floor. You trip over it, you can't use a wheelbarrow, you can't walk easily. So this is probably about 15 to 18 feet long, and as soon as I use it, I can put it into 3 coils and I hang it back up again. I hear you ask, well, what about the rest of it? Well, at that spigot, I put in a T and I went down into the ground and I laid an underground pipe. It's only 10 inches underground, and it comes through this area, and it comes through the front of the greenhouse, and it ends up right there. That hose was put there, and then it comes up to an outlet, and that water supply was put there so that I could have easy access to water the greenhouse. But not surprising, I have a hose long enough for it to reach to here and then there. So this hose does all of that, and this hose does all of this. But I don't have hoses all over the place. They're very easy to manage. Now, let's look at all our planting area. We've got all this area here. When you cite a path, that path could have come alongside here, and I could have had the gate rather than there. I could have put the gate there. What would happen is that I then got, it's too far. I'd be walking on the bed. By putting the path down the middle, got 3 feet this side, 3 or 4 feet that side, and I can easily reach in. I don't need to stand on the bed to take care of it. Now, over here, deliberately went with a wide bed. What that allows me to do is to have a layered look. I can put some taller plants here at the back, and then I can have something else in front of them. Could be taller, could be shorter, but I get lots of variation. The same over here. This can be a certain height or a certain color, and then I can have a smaller planting in front of it. Here I've got a tree which will be cut down quite hard to 3 or 4 feet every year, and then it'll bush again. I want a nice low dense bush. In the back here in this area we have our cold frame, and then we've got more planting here, more planting here, and then obviously the cold frame will fatten up. Oh, and lots more planting there. So what we've managed to do here is we've got this clear path that comes through the garden. We've got water, lots of planting space, no grass, and I like to sit in a garden. I want to be able to sit down and really enjoy it. So we've got a bench that goes in here and another bench that goes in here. And I've designed it so that the front leg of each of these 2 benches just rests on the bluestone patio, and then where the back leg is in the border, I put a granite block under those legs. You can let teak rest on soil or grass, not ideal. Find a little block and put it underneath there and you'll do just fine. So that is our garden design. That's my garden design. I've got greenhouse, gates, water, path, no lawn, full sun. I'm off to the races. This is what we're going to be working on. Now I've got an interesting concept I want to share with you here, and I really hope that I can convey this. If we do a graph like this, now on the upside we have obviously an increase. So this is 0, and we'll call this 10. And this is practicality. We'll just write the letter P. So high practicality and low practicality would come down. High practicality, low practicality. Now on the other axis we have green, which is going to go this way, up, and there's our 10, and the green starts at 0, and this is design. So what we end up with is a situation where one takes over from the other. So if we have design and we have a very low degree of it, there's nothing happening. As we go up, we're going to move across. With design, with practicality, we start at 10 and we come down. What you end up is this crossover. And this is the area where you need to put your design. Too much design and not enough structure and strategy, the design will miss out on a lot of really important detail. And vice versa. It can be boring if it's too practical. It can be difficult to build and difficult to live with if it's too design focused. Somewhere in the middle is where you want to be. An example would be if your paths are too narrow. They look nice on paper and they look nice in theory, but you physically can't take a wheelbarrow and walk down that path. Another example would be having a beautiful winter garden that's hidden around the corner and you can't see it from the house. If you've got plants that flower in January, February and March, you'd want that nearer to the windows of your house so that you can see them without having to go outside. And another example would be lighting. You put in a beautiful lighting package to make your garden glow, but the light source is shining back at you through windows. That's a practical consideration. The design looks nice on paper, but it's very difficult to achieve. So don't go way over here with a really high design, and don't go way over here with a really down-to-earth practical garden. You need to have a blend of the two, and that is this area here. Somewhere in the middle is where you want to land. I hope that helps. Now let's move on to some more details. We have got design. We've got construction. We've got care. And then we've got, well, we'll leave it for those three: design, construction, and care. Now we've got customer A, customer B, and we'll even do customer C. Customer A is going to design their own garden. Very good. Customer A is also going to construct their own garden. And then customer A is going to take care of their own garden. That's me. That's exactly where I'm coming from. I know what I want, I know how to build it, and I'm really looking forward to taking care of it. The cost for this is not very much. I'm able to propagate some plants. I've shown those in other videos. I can do the work when it suits me, and I'm very happy to set the design in place and then work towards it. I don't need a finished project. Customer B, well, let's go to customer C. You can guess where this is going. Customer C is going to buy a design. They're going to buy the construction. Someone's going to do it for them. And the ongoing care, snow blowing, lawn care, mulching, leaf raking, they're going to buy that. So they're not going to do anything in their yard. That's not me, and it's going to cost a lot of money. And not just a little bit, but the design, a good design, is worth a lot of money. The construction can be as expensive as you want to make it, but the ongoing care is what really gets people. If you have beautiful flower beds that need specialist pruning and division and a whole bunch of other things, the care is just hours and hours and hours of somebody that might not know quite what they're doing. And it's every spring, it's every summer, it's every fall. One of the things about this is that you can hold them to a standard. The downside of it is, and I got this when I was working in Greenwich, Connecticut on some really big estates, is that they've got their beautiful grounds, but there's always a contractor in the yard. There's always somebody checking something, so your beautiful space really isn't yours. Now, somewhere in the middle is where you might consult with a designer, and it could be a joint project. You might get the survey done, you might design the hardscape, and then they could come along and specify the plants. The construction, you might have somebody come in and do another joint project. They might put in a beautiful bluestone patio for you, but you could run the hoses for water supply. Then the ongoing care, that might come down to you. So we'll do own again. So what we have here is a very different cost. Now, which one's right? Well, there isn't an answer to that. The problem is that if you think you're going to get this result by doing it all yourself, you might be disappointed. And if you think that by buying in every single aspect of your garden design it's going to be cheap, then you're going to be disappointed. So do start out with who's designing it, who's constructing it, and who's caring for it. And if these dollars don't stack up, then you're in a world of pain. Speak to people, get recommendations. Don't be too quick to jump in and build your project. And if you've just bought a house, you should absolutely live in your garden for at least 6 months, no matter what time of year you move in, but live in it for 6 months. See where the sun comes up, see where it goes down, see when the church bells ring, a whole range of things that will help you decide where it is you want to do your garden. So that is garden design. I hope that I've dispelled a few myths here and pointed you on the fast track to success. This little chicken scratch here contains all of the salient points. This could be drawn up on an AutoCAD computer. You could have lots of hatching and shading. We could add in a whole plant palette and the design would look absolutely beautiful, but it would represent the chicken scratch that you see here. So sometimes it's not what it looks like, it's the content that it conveys. And I'm going to show you how I take this garden design into a beautiful courtyard. Thanks for watching.